Answer Me This with Kwabena Ansah and me, Rod Court. Kwabena, how are you today?
Doing well. Good to be back to speak to you again.
What happened? The Wallabies received a royal thumping by Los Pumas.
Well, 67-27 last weekend, while the Box remained undefeated in their championship with a close game with New Zealand. Let's address what went wrong with the Wallabies against Argentina. First, honestly, I felt sorry for Joe Schmidt because the boys just gave up in defence and failed to formulate any attack. That really resonated with their game. From where I was sitting in the comfort of my own home, Rod, which is great, Argentina just had more energy. They had more desire to make the extra tackle and just never said die. Unlike New Zealand, it's as if no one in the Australian side wanted to make a chop tackle. Now, Rod, do you know what a chop tackle is?
You tell us.
Well, look, listen, it's where you literally go for the legs, you dive for the legs, and you chop that person down so your teammate can go over the top and bring them over. It is a classic tackling technique, and Australia just couldn't execute that.
You can't run without legs.
Indeed, Rod. And I think when you do compare it to New Zealand, we just didn't have that impact. I mean, New Zealand, when I watched their game, they had new players like Suti making huge impacts from the game. I couldn't tell in the Australian game who our standout player was. So credit to Argentina because they just had it, especially in that second half. It just felt like they had our number, Rod. But to receive that royal thumping, 67-27, a lot of work has to be done. But look, with the Bledisloe, unfortunately, history's not on our side, Rod. Do you watch the Bledisloe, Rod?
I do, but get frustrated.
I sympathise with you and every other Australian watching. If we have any hope in beating New Zealand, who demonstrated that their chop tackles and their pilfering, Rod, well, in that game against South Africa, the amount of penalties that South Africa gave away because New Zealand were just over the top, pilfered that ball, and they were holding on to the ball, and immediately the ref was blowing in New Zealand's favour, and they really showed Kane just did an amazing job forcing penalties, and it was just brilliant to watch. For Australia to win, players need to say to themselves, Rod, that I'm going to die on this battlefield. That's what I think. They just need to put their bodies on the line, never give up, and really just, work cohesively as a team and listen to the coach. Listen to the coach.
Maybe if it's not going good after the first half, they can watch the Flaming Galahs from Galaganbone in the halftime entertainment. They're going to be playing a bit of a match.
How good is that, isn't it? Western Plains Rugby Association getting the girls out there as the U's coach. Yeah, it will be great for the Western region to have players out there. But listen, if they need a pep talk, Rod, the Australian side, I'm available.
You'll be there?
Well, in spirit.
On the phone?
On the phone. I can do that. I can zoom in.
And the US Open?
Well, the US Open has just wrapped up, and what we've learnt this year is that there is a changing of the guard, Rod. Answer me this, Rod. Will you be sad to see Nadal and Novak leave the circuit?
Nah, it's time.
It's tough. Well, Rod, I tend to agree with you. Eurosports, the webpage, put out a great graphic the other day that goes back until 2003 and names all four champions across all four majors. The Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. From 2003 to 2023, Rod, only 12 other players have won the major Open title. The rest have been split between the big three of Federer, Nadal, and Novak, who in my mind is the greatest of all time. But in 2024, neither of the big three won a major. What do you think, Rod?
It's a new guard coming. Folks like Carlos Alcaraz.
Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner both dominated the major Opens this year. So you had Yannick Sinner winning the Australian Open and the US just recently, while Carlos Alcaraz won the French and Wimbledon. And for ladies, welcome to a new era of tennis. Is for the ladies' side, we certainly have quite a few amazing players, but Ariana Sabalenka, she was phenomenal. And earlier this year, I actually got to watch her in the Open finals at the Australian Open, and Rod, she just took that game to shreds. Straight set win over Zhang, and yeah, really phenomenal. So she herself, yeah, is amazing. But Rod, answer me this. Do you watch the Davis Cup?
Oh, no, not really. It passed its use by date as well.
Yeah, pretty much. It's look, to be honest, I have lost interest in it, but Australia is in Group B playing in Spain. In our pool, we have Spain, Czech Republic, and France. We've already won our first game against France and obviously Czech Republic. So look, we're on track to make the cut. And you know what I love about this is they're in Spain, Malaga, beautiful town in the south of Spain. Great way to end the season in playing sport. But in news also, Nadal has exited from the Laver Cup. Nadal, it's time.
He will hear one day.
Rafa, it's time to retire.
Let's move to the Wallaroos.
Well, look, Rod, the Wallaroos are set to kick off their campaign against Ireland. Let's get excited. Joe Yap, the Wallaroos coach, has shaken up the side to face Ireland in Belfast. Firstly, we have a new captain, Insio Kapisi Palau. According to rugby.com, the Brumbies skipper forms a new look back row alongside Lilana Nathan and Tauba. I have butchered those names. I'm so sorry, ladies. Phenomenal. You know, it's good that coaches are making tough decisions and creating a new era of sport. So Yap, like Joe Schmidt, just making changes to help integrate, you know, the team and formulate cohesiveness going forward. Against the Irish team, Australia has only won 1 out of 3 games. We're coming into game with something to prove, Rod, after losing 62-0 against the Silver Ferns, who, along with England, are the 2 best sides in the world. I expect a fairly even game, with both teams looking to dominate the second tier in terms of rugby dominance when it comes to the pyramid of top sides. So get around the Wallaroos, Australia. Watch the game.
It's 11:30 this evening.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, let's get on our bike. The Grand Tours are finished.
Yeah, well, the Grand Tours have finished, and that's cycling for those who are uninitiated. The Vuelta Espana, you know, that's has just wrapped up. Answer me this, Rod. After the Lance Armstrong saga, it seems cycling hasn't missed a beat, or has it?
I don't think so. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of talk about it when people are standing out, doing really well, but can't put it all down to cheating.
No. There are some phenomenal athletes. Look, the Lance Armstrong saga was a while back, but we are seeing these incredible athletes pushing themselves to incredible feats. The Vuelta Espana saw Roglic win the Tour for the 4th time, Rod. Winning a Tour once is just a great feat. But winning 4 times, it's putting your name into the history books as one of the greatest. We also learnt this year, Rod, throughout the Tours, that the Slovenians are dominating the men's side of the Tours. Here's an interesting fact, Rod, from the website cyclist.com.uk in relation to all the Grand Tours. The best bike brand with 17 stage wins and 2 overall was Specialized. And the best wheels of the 2024 Grand Tour were split between Raval, Shimano, and Envy, all receiving 17 wins.
We like that, Kwabena. And besides the cycling, what's the best part about what SBS does?
SBS, I do believe, they are the home of cycling. And the best thing that they do, Rod, if you don't like to travel, you can see European towns throughout the cycling and the beautiful landscape that they have. The beauty of Europe is just magnifico.
T20.
Yes, the T20 is on, Australia versus England. Answer me this, Rod. Did you grow up playing cricket?
I was very good sitting on a lounge or a seat watching.
I grew up watching my neighbour Jake play the game religiously. It wasn't a sport that pulled me in, but 2 years ago I went to a T20 match between Australia and Pakistan, and let me tell you, the energy coming out from the South Asian fan base between the Pakistanis and the Indian community and the Sri Lankan community, the South Asian communities just thrive on the game. And just to be in that atmosphere between Australia and Pakistan, phenomenal. And I like the short form. I can't sit and watch the long form. It's too long. It doesn't make sense. What about you, Rod?
During a long, hot summer,
Nah.
I can quite easily, as I say, sit there inside and watch the TV, even in the old black and white days.
No. Well, look, I mean, I'm very much an in-person kind of person, so I have to be at the game, and I really want to watch India versus Pakistan in India one day. I mean, that, on the list of sporting events to go to in your lifetime, do yourself a favour and go to an India versus Pakistan game in India, and just tick off that bucket list, because that's something I want to do myself.
Week 1 has passed in the NFL.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, look, we have learnt a lot. We've learnt that Kansas City Chiefs are just warming up. That the Cleveland Browns are not going anywhere with Deshaun Watson as their starting quarterback. That the Steelers should keep Justin Fields as their starting quarterback. And coaching matters if you're the New York Jets, who, in my opinion, will move off Robert Saleh either during the season or at the end. That's my hot take, Rod.
All right, and you want some final words on F1?
Look, final words on F1. It's back this week, but Adrian Newey, the most successful car designer in F1 history, will be moving from Red Bull to Aston Martin on a 5-year, $300 million deal. Cast your mind back to every Formula One championship of the last 30 years, and Adrian Newey was the master of creating those brands. This is a huge win for Lawrence Stroll, who owns Aston Martin, as he'll be leveraging the knowledge of Newey to design beautiful cars for the company. Look, Aston Martin, it's a great coupe to have someone of his caliber building your cars, and I guess that's been the news this week in F1. But yes, it's back in Azerbaijan, Baku, this weekend. So yeah, get on the TV screens and watch it.
Answer me this. Can Newey find something Newey for Aston Martin?
So here's the thing, right? Right now, Lawrence Stroll's son is in Aston Martin, and he's considered a pretty below average driver. Now, the nepotism in that is obviously your dad owns the company, so yeah, put him in. But if Max Verstappen, who has a great relationship with Adrian, decides to leave Red Bull, could Lawrence Stroll say, listen, son, love your work, but we have Max who could potentially come in and win for us, in which we get more money as a family? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
Didn't answer my question. Could Newey find something new for Aston Martin?
I think he can.
Have a good week.
Yeah, you too, Rod. Great speaking.
Answer Me This with Kwabena Ansah and me, Rod Korf.